I
I
pledge
pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we come before you today humbly, asking for you to direct our paths. Lord, we know life has a lot of things going on in it for different people. We just ask that you would touch each person, be present in this room, be present as we go back to our daily lives with us. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
You should have all received minutes of our last meeting. Any additions, corrections, deletions?
Move to approve.
Moved. Bonnie.
I'll second.
That's a good diagnosis.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Nate, you're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So your practice, but we'll do this very same presentation here in about an hour and a half. So, what I've come in before you today is just kind of request your permission to apply for a special federal grant for safety projects. Well, in looking at different types of special safety options that are eligible within the county. What we have right now, and this is a map of them, is about 50 bridges with a minimum of about 40 foot right of ways that I feel are eligible and have gotten a determination from NDOT stating that we can seek that special safety funds for impact attenuators. And I didn't print out quite enough, but I want to give you my notes here, kind of an example, pass that around. And what we're looking at trying to do is replace the impact ends or install them where none exist currently on a number of bridges. And that's 50 bridges. Out of 163, I mean, we're talking about a little less than a third of our total bridge inventory. We have eliminated bridges with minor right-of-way where I don't think I've got enough room to put those in. So we're sticking with just the right-of-ways where this is eligible within that. The state has issued this special notice, so it's not something that comes up every year. And the state has set aside $50 million in eligible funds across the state of Indiana. With 50 different projects, do I think we'll get all of them? Probably not, but it certainly is a pretty good shot by putting out 50 different individual applications into one big bundle. The goal would be obviously to try to get as many of those done at one time within the county. It will certainly improve our situation as far as systemic safety improvements within the county infrastructure.
Is it just these guys haven't seen it yet, but is it the yellow placard or is it the railing system?
It's that railing system. So it's an attenuator system. The
There's
typical
the one
ones you see
picture
are
didn't
fairly
have it.
wide. They're about 18 inches wide, and those have actually a little horseshoe in them that when during an impact, the car would get caught on that and ride the guardrail, and then the energy of the vehicle would be slowed down by riding that guardrail. And the guardrail doesn't spear into the vehicle, or the vehicle doesn't ride up on top of the guardrail. Typically, there's a curve, a half moon shape that sends the guardrail off. As it smashes the guardrail, it curves off the side. This soft stop system actually smashes the guardrail almost like a Play-Doh pump. And so that anchor at the front that you're seeing is actually got a 4-foot anchor on the end. And that sled that they end up hitting rides the guardrail and smashes the guardrail and it goes underneath the vehicle. It makes for a narrower profile, and it would be something that I think would be better for the farmers because every little bit helps. Instead of being 15 to 18 inches wide, you're talking about a guardrail end that's only about 7.5 inches wide. So that would be something that I would encourage as a county standard because it's going to be more advantageous for the farming community. So that's one of the recommendations that I would make as part of this agreement, or at least as part of this grant application. I have reached out to Adams County Farm Bureau, Adams County Soil Water Conservation. I've met and presented the project scope, need, purpose to both of those groups to seek out farmer input. And I've also reached out to the Adams County Economic Development Corp. I've received letters of support from the Soil Water Conservation and the Economic Development Corporation locally. I haven't received anything from State Farm, but I did have a conference call with their state rep, encouraging the county to seek whatever grants in rural communities that we could find. So I'm expecting, and I told them I don't need it until September when the grant opens, so they still have well over a month to get me something. So, and I told them that I'd be presenting sometime in August to council and the commissioners seeking approval to pursue this. As I said, I have sought and received from NDOT their approval of determination saying that this is an eligible project based on this. That's a requirement of the grant application. If anybody wants copies of the soft stop system and how that works, I've got some of that here as well. And I've also got cost estimates that were developed through Butler, Fairman, and Seifert. This, I did make enough copies for all of you if you'd like. Versions of this is where the numbers came from for this. The total project cost, we're estimating at about $2,929,518. That's what's listed on the grant application paperwork that you should have here today. Because it's a safety project, it's not 80-20, it's actually 90-10. The state actually, and the state federal government actually encourages counties and governments to go after the safety projects by actually sweeping the pot. We need to come up with about 10 cents on the dollar. So our local obligation for this grant, if everything was funded, I'm anticipating about $292,000, or a little over that, $292,951.84.
That's assuming you get all of them, which.
If we get all of them, that's the max that we would have for a local match, assuming everything stays on track with the estimates that we have. I've been somewhat conservative. We have inflation adjustments in there. We have a minor contingency included in this. So I'm feeling fairly confident, and between myself, our bridge inspection company, BMO East Neff, and the firm doing Butler, Fairman, and Seifert's reviewed it, there's essentially been 3 different groups that have reviewed this estimate. So I'm about as confident as I can be with where we're at.
So the plan would be to do the ones that they would have, probably not get them all, but get some, and would be to do the ones that they approve first?
Yep. Well, what I would hope to do is request for all 50 of these. If we get all 50, great. If we don't, then we're perfectly set up to seek safety funds during regular calls. They do have safety funds within regular calls, but it's a smaller pot. They usually don't put a $50 million bounty out there and say, present projects of this type. And they want these with a quick turnaround. They are asking for projects that can be done within 2 years. That creates a burden for a lot of different counties and cities to have projects that are that shovel ready. With this, because we have the right of way, I eliminated anything we would need right of way acquisition. These don't require permitting because there's not really a significant site disturbance. You're essentially driving the post to the ground. So these fit just right in line with exactly what their goal is.
Nate, did you happen to print off the grant application for
I
this end commission?
do have,
If you did, I wanted to run upstairs and get one.
all right, I will just hand you both of these.
And then what are the copies you need? I can make copies.
I think there's multiples right here for you. So
Thanks.
And then is this something that we would be spending anyway? Like if we don't get the grant, is it something that we're going to be working on?
I would encourage us to look at doing some safety improvements this type, whether it's in the future as we replace bridges. Typically, if we're getting federal funds, we're going to be mandated to put those into a certain standard. And there's different levels of safety standards that are out there. Are we mandated? No, but if we're going to say that we're putting safety plans together, this would be something that I would encourage us to do. So certainly we've done buried ends in the past and we're mandated to do that, but it would be something I would encourage us to find ways to whether it's extending structures so that we don't have guardrail or we improve safety by putting obstructions out of the way or eliminating within the design. That does have some cost impacts, obviously, but I'd rather seek a grant to make the roads safer, and then we can do that on a much lower cost. It wouldn't mandate us to just go through and say, okay, now we have to do the other 113 that are left over on our bond. It doesn't force us to do that. But I wouldn't, if we establish a county standard, then my intent would be is that on future projects, we're going to hold to that standard and just include that into the standard design practice.
I've got 2 copies here, so
That's perfect.
if they
So-
approve this, then we'll have 2 different things for them all to sign.
And when you have unprotected ends on guardrails or no guardrails at all, one of the examples that I sent out there was just of a recent crash that happened in Wells County of someone navigating a curve and mist and essentially spears their vehicle on a concrete end, and you just stop. Whether you're stopping or if there's no guardrail, there's nothing to keep you from running off the road and into the ditches in these areas.
Then when would you be notified if you're approved? I mean, I'm just thinking if you could, then we could put the 200,000-ish in 25's budget.
I don't know. Right, typically the state's probably 3 to 4 months out with those approvals, and the application doesn't close till October. So I may not find out until, I would hope December, but it may not be until January. So I'm anticipating that this has all been very likely that this is going to be an additional appropriation, but it will be targeted at the grant. You would all be aware of that. And there is a cash reserve within the Cume Bridge that could absorb this. So I'm not jeopardizing the Cume Bridge fund, but my goal would be saying, hey, if we're awarded this funds, it's certainly a good return on the investment. Let's draw that money out of the Cume Bridge reserves and apply that specifically to this project. So
And
that was,
I'll make a motion to allow you to apply.
Second.
John and Fred?
Motion to approve the grant approval. All those in favor? Opposed?
And actually, that's just Dennis that signs. Stan, they approve it, commissioners, they'll sign, then I sign. I'll make sure you get your copy.
I'll just include that in the application as our confirmation of willingness to participate. Again, thank you. If you have any questions or want any detailed information, absolutely let me know. Certainly have a lot of this on file. So,
You know, is this list prioritized?
nope,
This is everything?
this is just everything. That's actually in a numeric order.
If you
So-
get half of these,
Well, yeah,
you'll
we'll go
cherry
through and
pick it.
try to, we'll see what the state says, if they give us some of the money or if they give us all the money. I can't imagine there's gonna be a lot asking for that large of a pot. I mean, that's a pretty significant percentage.
Yeah,
They
we're
may-
one of 92 and you get 2 million of the 50.
I won't say no.
Okay.
But
Yes.
I get none of what I don't ask for. So we'll see what happens. It's the biggest ask that I've put together for you so far. So we'll see what happens, and then I'll report back after they make their announcements. Again, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Sheriff Dan?
Did you get both copies, Dennis, or? Yeah, there's 2.
Got a little show and tell this morning.
Somebody's so much fun.
I'll pass that around. It's heavy.
No,
This,
on my skillet.
this is the valve in our jail and in our water.
While they're passing it around, you want to quickly go ahead and do the commissary thing, so we get that out.
Oh, sure. You should have been emailed a copy of the 6-month commissary report for the last
Wait,
part of last year.
That's not sewage, is it?
No.
All right.
No, I would have been gloved up. Yes.
Real low pads would probably work on that.
Yeah, it might. It might. And so would 10 gallons of acid. But before you get to that, the commissary report by statute, you're given from last July to December. Any questions over that? And if not, I would like a motion for you guys to accept that into record that you received it.
It's heavy.
I'll make a motion.
I will second.
He didn't hear any of that.
I just need to know who made the motion second.
Bob first, me second.
Okay. Don't beat my hand with it.
You guys want to see it?
I can tell. I can feel it. Doesn't look good.
Thank you.
Water valve.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Fix that.
Now the pipes.
Okay. That is the biggest issue we've been dealing with this year. We did put a soft water softener, I put a soft water softener system in for the whole facility about 1.5 years ago, knowing that most of the damage has already been done. So now we are finding that was seized up. And what these valves do is what allows control to shut water off to different cells. If they try to flood the cell, do whatever, they can shut it off to stop the flooding. They're all seizing up. So we are replacing those, and these small ones are about $350 a piece plus labor to do it, which is a 2-man job. That shut the water off. So you're looking at probably close to almost $1,000 with labor and stuff to change these valves out. These are the small ones. The larger ones are not about $900 a piece, and then labor to shut them off. This is what I've been spending a lot of the property maintenance money on this year, is just plumbing. This causes issues. Most of the major valves in the whole facility have already been replaced within 7 years, which is not normal. We've had boiler issues. I have a packet of invoices that we're more than happy to produce to you, but I'm here the first time to ask for an additional because I have less than probably $2,000 in that account right now to get me through the rest of the year. So I'm asking for basically these invoices that have pulled have dealt with all of this, and they basically total $45,000. So that's what I'm asking for, the additional of $45,000 to hopefully get me through the rest of the year on the property maintenance.
I had emailed all of you, I think on all the additionals, what they were and so forth and so on, and explained that Dan would be here to discuss his and just so you'd have information if you had any questions for Dan.
And already this year, earlier in the year, I transferred $25,000 from Affolter's full-time pay line over to this to help offset some of this already. And I've burned through that in hours. I paid hours for Hatterley's just for labor hours. And that's what that $25,000 was used for. And that has already been spent.
Is this the I'm coming to the end? I know this,
I'm hoping
you're not the
to-
cause of any of this.
I'm hoping that it will be once we get these replaced and with the soft water that's coming through now. I don't foresee this happening. We're just still fighting the damage that has been done and we're replacing it as we go through. And now we're actually being proactive. We're going through and pulling these and checking them to see if they're already bad before we find out they're seized up and stuff. Because when they're seized up and I have an inmate flood a cell, then it's just a cascade of other problems. So we are being more proactive and we are looking through these cell by cell and changing them out if they need.
I remember there's some piping issues that went along with that. Maybe that's a year or two ago.
Correct.
When it started,
They're clogging down.
are they
and stuff.
replacing the pipes as they go?
Correct. Like I said, it's been a very expensive year with it. And I even tried, why can't we go to PVC piping and stuff like that? Well, because the type of building, the codes, it has to be copper piping, which is expensive to replace. And when it's hard water, it wears out even faster. But I'm hoping we won't be causing damage to the stuff we're replacing.
What, do you know what percentage of valves have been changed?
No, sir, I don't. I would say we're probably around 50%.
And this is one per cell, right? These valves?
Correct. Because it shuts the whole water off, coming off the main line to the cells.
So we got about half of them.
Yes. That's my estimate. I'll, if that's different than that, I will get back with you with the correct answer.
If you're thinking it's around 50%, I mean, it seems like we would eventually be doing the other half then.
As we come through, we have, but like I said, and that's going to go into next year. When next year I'll have new budget and we'll work on it as we go.
Okay.
But if, right now, if something comes up, I don't have money to fix it because my fund is depleted.
Okay.
No, this is the county general jail fund, right?
Correct.
It's not the other ones.
Correct.
Chunk of change.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got it. Have a motion to approve the request. All those in favor? Opposed?
What, just out of curiosity, what is the, expected life expectancy? The life expectancy expected to be for one of those cars?
Under normal conditions, what I've been told is 15 to 20 years.
Oh, really?
And like I said, my understanding is the city 5-year to 10-year plan is trying to take that water line that comes to us and continue it through over like to the Homestead area to get a different loop in, and that will also help.
Because it would not be the dead end?
Correct, and we don't get all the settlements sitting at our end. So the sooner they do that, the better it's for our facility.
Yeah, that
For
makes
sure.
sense.
Just wonder if they weren't paid off.
How much would you say this has cost altogether with this problem?
Oh,
Well, it was your entire maintenance budget year to date, right?
well, no, because that's spent for other things too, but since I've been in, I mean, the softener system itself was, I think close to $100,000. All this, I would have to say $250,000 probably, just in the plumbing issues, because over the last several years in the boiler room, all the main pipes have been replaced, all the valves have been replaced. We've done a lot of work on the boilers, the pumps and the boilers, because they got the hard water and we're breaking down. It's been an expensive cost through my administration.
So that boiler system is like an open loop system?
We have two systems, so one is running, they don't both run at the same time, so they kind of get a break.
It's just water running through from the.
No, the boiler's pumped to a storage tank, and then it's pumped out of the storage tank to a mixing valve. And the mixing valve, because it's in a storage tank, has to be kept at a certain temperature, so you do not get Legionnaires growing into the tank. But that's too hot to go out through the system, so we actually have to mix it with cold water before it gets put out to the rest of the facility. And those mixing valves, we have 2 of them, and every 6 months that gets taken out, and a new one gets put in, the other one gets cleaned because it builds up in there, and we replaced, early on in my administration, we replaced 2 of those already, and those are about $1,500 a piece. So we figured out now we have 2 of them, we just swap them and clean them each time, so they don't get that bad. Every 6 months they're cleaned. But it's been a problem from the get-go. And like I said, when the city does that expansion, that's going to help us immensely,
Yeah.
immensely.
Well, I almost wonder, maybe this is terrible, I'm just thinking out loud, but what if, and maybe if we're towards the end of this already, it doesn't matter, but if there's another 250,000 coming down the road, do we get with City of Decatur and say, we'd rather spend money on helping you move this project along? I don't know. I just bring this up idea, commissioners. I don't know if that's something that's worth thinking about.
I don't know how soon they want to, but I know Jeremy Gilbert asked me about that, and I was like, man, you could do it. You could start tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I
they
don't know
brought
if
that up after we put it in the softener system.
I mean, if we're basically over all the damage, then no. But if there's another 250 coming, I'd rather spend it on something productive rather than fixing things.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be that much more because all the big lines, the 6-8 inch line valves, they've all been replaced already. They've been working fine. Reference the 911. That is, right now, it's gonna be in the red by the end of the year by about $25,000. I think Bree sent you guys paperwork on that. I just want you guys to think about, so on the 26th, when we meet, let's have a plan to how we want to do that, either by starting to spend out of the PSAP lit this year, which my best idea is we get a catch-up check at the end of the year where we never know how much that's gonna be. Brian? Pardon me.
Might get another cut.
Has the extra lit monies Those are gonna go into that, right?
We have it, but that's what we were going to discuss, whether or not council wanted to wait until 2025 to start spending and let it build up or not.
That, like, that money doesn't go into that fund, so you're gonna have a separate fund. So if
Correct.
you start using the 1235, then you're going to have to do a salary ordinance to approve that whatever salaries can be paid out of that new fund, and then you'll have to do an addition to appropriate it, if you're gonna do it for this year. At the end of this year, we're looking at
204.
204,000. If you don't budget it for 25, then it's 400.
And it's on the computer, but the catch-up check the last 2 years, could you tell me those numbers?
90,000-ish, wasn't it?
It ranges. I think last year was 70.
23, it was 71.
Last year was 71,891.
So maybe this was the one.
22 was 64,000.
This one.
So the last 2 years, it's been over $60,000. The checks come usually November or December. I feel that that check's gonna be similar to that. So if we get that check, then we have no issues, because it will cover that need balance, because right now she's projecting it to be about 25 in the hole. So if we get that check, it'll be covered, we don't have to do anything. We can do our budget stuff for the PSAP lit in our meetings, to start taking effect in 25. And then the salary all can be done like we normally will in 25. So my recommendation is, let's see if that check comes in, and if it covers it, which I think it will, then we have no issues whatsoever, don't have to do anything extra. And if it doesn't cover it, then we will be scrambling at the end of the year to try and get it covered in December.
So he's giving you a heads up that we'll discuss this on the 26th.
Yeah, basically. And then I have ideas of what we can use the PSAP lit for in 25. So this account, the normal PSAP E911 fund, does not go in the red.
And if we do have to cover some, it's gonna be a minimal amount relative to the 25.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, but that fund has no money in it. That's a separate owned fund that is basically tax derived from the state. But I truly feel that that makeup check is gonna be well over $25,000. So I don't think it's gonna be a problem. But for some reason, if it's not, we're gonna be behind the ball at the very end of the year to get that covered.
Well, if I remember correctly, and I'm kind of asking at the same time here, so you guys correct me if I'm getting this wrong, but I think there was 4 accounts that we were worried about the cash balance of. It was the 2 Parks and Recs, the lit public safety, the E911, and then the health were the ones we were been worried about for a while. Last year, I think we fixed the lit public safety. The health, I think, is now fixed with this grant situation going on. So that basically leaves Parks and Rec and then E911 as the 2 that we kind of punted on last year to say, let's wait 1 more year and see. Reading that correctly, is that where we're at now?
Yeah.
As far as my 2 funds, you're absolutely correct. And then the lit PSAP will fix the E911 issue.
Okay.
Because we were gonna be
We just need to
shorted,
transfer it down.
and we'll move something out of that over to the PSAP lit in 25, which in my budget that is spending now, there is none, because I did not budget 25, and because I was waiting for our meeting. But if we move 2 items that I have moved out of there, the E911 will be fine, and then the public safety lit will also be fine.
Okay, so it seems to me that the most, if I'm understanding correctly, the lit public safety should be fixed. The PSAP should be the fix to the E911. We just have to make that move.
Correct.
And that would be like an every year move. I mean, that's the goal of that money,
Yeah,
basically.
the 2 items I think of moving over to that should keep both of those solvent, and we don't have to mess with anything. But that's for conversation on the 26th.
Okay, yeah, because I think if I remember, the issue is the E911 is going to keep going down because they're taxing off of people's landlines, which is less and less and less.
Well, it's not going down, but it's not raising. We've had 36 a month for a decade.
Yeah.
But our personnel costs are going up. And then we took tower leases up, but we moved that out of there. But it's just the cost of personnel is going up where the money coming in is not. And I know state legislature, and I talked to the state treasurer about trying to raise that 911 tax on cell phones. But right now, the most you can raise, I think, is 10 cents or 15 cents at a time. And it's been $1 for, I think, 9 years. But like I said, our expenses have gone up and the incoming has not come up at all. But this should fix it, and we can talk about that on the 22nd. But I want to give you a heads up on that.
Thank you, sir.
You guys,
Thank you, Sheriff.
Dan, that big check that comes late in the year, what's that from, that check?
the 911 commission, state 911,
One, okay.
and any money that they have left over that they raised, they have a formula that they divided out
The whole thing.
to the whole state. Every county gets it. Yeah. Okay, we can laugh.
You want to go around? Ed, would you like to present your guests for us?
Good morning, Dennis and council all and commissioners. I've had the pleasure of spending some time with Rex Moore here in the last couple of weeks. And Rex wanted to have a letter put together for you all here this morning. And here to take it from here is Rex's wife, Gayla. This will be going on the record then.
Morning. I've been before council before, but I don't think I've ever been as nervous as I am. Adams County Commissioners and Council. On July 31st, I submitted a letter resigning my office as Adams County Councilman. I wanted to let you all know how much of an honor it has been to work with you during my years, working as county treasurer, as a county commissioner, and as a member of Adams County Council. In all my years working as a local banker, in my personal business as tax preparation, and for all my time as Adams County elected official, I have strived to do the very best for the people I have served. This was very important to me. I hope everyone knows how I feel. I really wanted to finish out my full term as councilman. Recent health issues have forced me to come to the conclusion that this is just not possible. And this job is way too important not to have an active member serve in this position. A caucus will take place tonight, August 13th, to find my replacement for the reminder of my term. My friends, I thank you all for your thoughtfulness and kindness as I have worked with you for these many years. I will fondly remember my time with you. I wish you all God's blessings, and I sincerely wish you all the very best as you continue your service to the good citizens of Adams County. Sincerely, Rex Moore.
I applaud Rex.
I have so much respect for you.
Yeah, we loved him. We love him a lot.
Dennis, I'd like you to know that Rex will be watching the video. He's looking forward to seeing all that. This will be a great deal to him. I do have a copy for the record for you.
Thanks for making this happen. Now, do you want to tell us?
I can wait.
Tom, would you like to come up?
I am before you because back about 10 years ago, we got credit cards for departments to use to spend to like go to conferences and stuff like that. And when we signed up 10 years ago, we were under the state of Indiana umbrella. It was their contract with the JP Morgan Chase. State, I think, is going with another card. So JP Morgan Chase said that we will need our own proposal going forward now if we want to stay with them. I sent the proposal to Julie Marie and I don't see any difference from it. I thought maybe the rebate rate might be a little less, but after thinking about it, I think it's the same. 1.5% if we spent up to 250,000. Last year, we got a little over $1,000 rebate from using it. So you guys are the financials, so you guys have to approve going forward. You keep using this card for county department uses.
This is all of Adams County, right?
Yeah, this is the departments that I requested at first. It's not every department, but it's a lot of them.
Well, I mean, we're just not gonna have one card here, another card there. I mean, it should all be the same.
It's the same
Account.
account, but each department has their own card
Right.
if they sign up.
So the state has some system and they're going somewhere else now?
Yeah, I guess. I have not heard what, where, stuff like that.
And I'm assuming you guys decided not to go with whatever they go with?
Right, because since we're with them and we got a good relationship with Chase, I mean, I don't see it being that any much better,
Be a little bit of work to change
Right.
probably too.
because we'd have to get all the information, new cards and everything, and how long that would take.
So you're talking about like the reward type things where they give you cash back or something for spending on their card? Is that what
They
you're talking
do,
about?
we don't get much, I mean, because you have to spend, I mean, you have to spend 250,000 to get the 1.5%. Like I said, last year we got $1,000. Yeah, I mean, we're not doing it to go to a conference and to get a tax exempt,
Yeah.
to save on taxes. You have to have county credit card or a county check. I can't take my personal credit card and take a tax exempt number.
Right.
So that's why, one of the reasons why we went with a credit card 10 years ago to save on, that's where you probably save your money on taxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to go forward.
Second.
Okay.
Got it.
If they need something signed, do I take this in front of the commissioner to sign?
Yes.
Or just- okay.
Because
We have to
it's subject to
vote, right?
the parties, both bodies.
Have a motion and a second to approve the credit card agreement. All those in favor? Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Tom, this just continues the program, though, the result is.
You have it, it's just out, okay.
Next.
Yeah. Well, what you want to,
Julie, Marie,
Julie, do you have anything?
No, I don't have.
Okay, then you can go to me. Okay, you ready?
Ready?
Okay, we already did the additional, well, first of all, we want to go ahead and get the transfers out of the way.
Yeah, I'll motion to make them.
Second.
I will move to approve.
Second.
Fred, second.
You write that down.
Motion to approve the transfers.
Got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. So then, the additional appropriations, like I said, I had sent you email trying to explain what they all were and so forth. The identification protection is something in the recorder's office that it's coming out of that fund, that recorder fund. The health vehicle that was approved by the commissioners is coming from the state grant money for the health department. The clerk and auditor were what you had approved last month. And of course, that was done after budgets, so it had to have an additional to do that. The jail you already approved. So the other is the CUMCAP development computer hardware purchase for $100,000. And I see Mike is back there. If you all have questions on that or any other additional that we haven't done yet, this would be the time to discuss.
I mean, we already approved the maintenance, the stipends we approved last time, so you can just knock those three out. I'll move to approve those three.
Okay.
And And I probably would like to hear from all of them on the other three what those are.
County General. Did Tom leave, Bree?
What was the question?
The identification protection, equipment software, wasn't that paid out of his PERT fund?
No, it's out of that,
Huh?
it's out of that one.
Do you know what it is? Do you want to call Tom back down?
The identification protection is out of that fund. It's out of the Lowe's.
Would that recorder's
So,
office?
but what is it again though? So it's for,
We purchased, software,
I know it's a small amount, but I just want to make sure I know.
because that fund, he can only use the, he can only use, he even redid the ordinance resolution of what he's considered. Oh, yeah.
We shouldn't have left somewhere.
Anyways, I move on the other three if we want to at least knock those out.
Okay.
I'll second.
Marie and John, got it. That was for these two.
Stipends in the middle.
We still had these three to do.
Have a motion and a second to approve the county general additionals. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, is he coming?
I don't know, he didn't answer.
I mean, it's a small amount. I don't want to make a big deal about it, but I mean, does anyone have an idea what it is?
So, let me check.
I'm
I
trying to
think
think what
it's
the
spent.
software was.
Let me see who it would be. Yeah, it was to CSI, it was to Computer Systems Software, and it was paid. So all this was doing was because that fund is not budgeted. But per statute, it has to be budgeted, but he's just appropriating it.
So it's just appropriation, actually not new money.
Yeah, and that, it would never be new money because he had, let me see the balance. So he has $38,739 in that fund.
I'll make a motion to accept the additional.
2,600? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the additional appropriation. All those in favor? Opposed?
It's gotta be, it'd be something required.
Yeah. So then that vehicle, that one is,
That's from the, we asked, when the commissioners approved that, she was asked and answered that it was grant money from the state, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Part of the Health First Indiana.
Health First Indiana.
okay.
Yeah, it was 100%.
I believe so, yes.
If I recall, you're talking about the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I recall, part of that Health First Indiana grant was for a liaison with school nurses and other school health individuals throughout all of our school systems, not only the public schools, but parochial schools. And I think they've been paying mileage, personal mileage to do that. I think it was just amounting to too much. And so she came forward with the proposal to add this vehicle. And again, the funding for the vehicle is coming out of that Health First Indiana.
I think this will make their second vehicle.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Jessica has one.
I'll move to approve that.
I'll second.
John, you second?
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Spending a lot of money.
A lot of scrambling.
All right, so then the IT, can you tell us a little bit about that, Mike?
Late last year, we had equipment that came in, we approved, approved hardware update that we had for the data center. And then if you remember, it came in way earlier than we anticipated. We put the order in November, And normally things in that period of time, we anticipated that it was going to come in 2024, not yet in 2023. It came in and real quick. We put the order in. Everyone was shocked by it, came in.
I remember that part.
And so we ended up, we had to pay for it, but we were waiting with the council to try and find out where we were at that point until next year, this year. Since we had to pay it early, and it was in December, I used my funds, if you remember, and I pulled $174,000 out to pay for those invoices then that were due in December of 2023. I could do that since we were in December, and I could pull from my funds because we would have to have another meeting to get understanding where that was going to be. So now as we move forward, where I paid that from was I was going to be using a lot for labor. We paid for the hardware, but the labor was going to be coming out of some other funds within my budget that I anticipated. Well, got the hardware in, and to pay out labor all this year. And I've been moving around funds from one fund to the other in order to make things meet up. And so now we're getting to the point where to finish out this year, I'm going to have some additionals, so that we can finish out the year. This, I'm going to be sending out invoices for the interlocal agreement soon. And I've already sent out invoices for what people have done for bandwidth usage throughout the county. So for Decatur, Geneva, Bern, all those places. And when I send all that out, and some of them we've already got checks for them already, but when we send out for the invoices for network services, plus the usage of bandwidth, I anticipate that it's going to be like 90-some thousand that's going to be coming in for this year for the entire county. And so when I looked over everything, I think I'm getting close to paying out for labor almost $100,000 to get all this stuff in, and some movements of some other things as well. As Microsoft went up pretty steeply. VMware was bought out by another company. Their pricing for this year went up 3 times with the new company. And that was unanticipated. There's been some other things that have gone high as well. So between all these things, I'm trying to see if we can make 100,000 meet up for the rest of this year.
Will we be stuck using VMware?
Now I'm looking for something else.
You are.
Yeah, I am. Since they got bought out, we didn't know what it was going to come to, but I'm looking for an alternative to that.
So just to back up, you paid in advance $174,000, and you're only asking for $100 to make up the difference. So was there some ground you made up in the meantime?
So you should be getting 90,000 in, right?
Well, I mean, it spent 174, and
Yeah.
to replace it is only 100, so they're still at 74-ish.
Yeah, but he's also talking about getting 90,000 collected.
And I don't even know what the labor's going to come to with the new installation and so on, stuff.
I make a motion to approve.
And that goes right back
Those
to the,
line items that we put in there were kind of like prepayment for like the next 5 years to
Mhm.
buy the stuff. So I'm setting aside $150,000 a year, and then what's next on those is buy that needs PC updates and so on. And so I think I set aside like 250,000 in 1138. Fund 1138. If you look between the two, there's a computer hardware and software purchases that's in there. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting that stuff into there, which I know that I'm going to have to pay some out during the year for updates and things like that for software and hardwares for all the users that we have that's on the network when they request it. And if they're due, we have that going in. So what's left is 150 is what I'm assuming that we're going to be saving
For all the
for
new
5 years
servers
for
and
the next 5 years
switches.
of payments. But what I had to do is I had to dig into that early last December, and I had enough to do it with 174,000. So
So the future ones will be down by 150 or so because of the prepayments.
yeah, I think that's the best way for us to do it because it's in there and it's kind of budgeted. Unless you guys want me to do something else. I mean, it's in there and
No,
if
that's
I don't
what you-
spend it at the end of the year,
You
then,
do the first time.
yeah,
No, we
so,
budgeted but not spent.
yeah, I've
Mike,
always,
do you assess user fees to the other entities?
licensing.
Licensing?
They only get charged for the licensing that they have. I implemented that when I first came in because that's not the way it was done before. It was just some erroneous fee that we charge those people. And it didn't even come close to covering their licensing before.
All that's gonna change though.
So it's,
That's all gonna change.
so basically what I had done in the past was a licensing. And when you think about it, Dennis, on everything I try to do, I try to make these outside entities use the same software that we're using. So we have to put the back-end services in place just for Adams County government, just for that alone. So whether they're with us or not, those servers, the main part of the application and everything we have to do, we have to pay it, okay? They come on board and they're using those same things. There's not different applications. They're not using different servers or not doing anything different than what we have set up in nearly all cases. So the only thing I was charging them for was the licensing that they would use to attach onto that. So I think sometimes we kind of get away from the whole point of it. If I had 10 acres of yard to mow, and if I sold off an acre of the ground, I don't have 10 acres to mow anymore, but you don't say, hey, we're going to take the mower away from you. Because you see what I'm saying? Because we still have to mow 9 acres of ground with it. We're just not mowing 10 acres anymore. But the investment that we have that operates, that does the mowing is still needed. And we still have to have it in place. So we can't just, that was my point when I did it that way. If you see it, if they would have had their own server and everything else, yes, we could point to it and we could say, here, I can identify that this server was just used for you, but that's not the case. It's used for everybody and they're just paying their licensing for it. And so that's a difficulty that I have when I meet with their councils and everything else. And when I meet with you is the whole thing dealing with this is difficult. They're intertwined, intermeshed with all of us. If they decide not to stay with us, it's a terrible job for me to take and undo this now. And it wasn't. The other thing that I want to bring up is this was done long before I came, maybe 2 directors before, even Pat Norton. all this stuff was implemented and more. And I've been trying to peel things away because of security reasons. So everyone's got to understand that if we don't do some changing in the way that we're made up, and if they decide to leave, this is a terrible problem for me to unravel these portions of it and to remove them away and then help it out. Whoever takes our place for them, let's say if they move away, there's still way more work for me to do than it is for the new people that's coming in. Because we've got to untangle stuff, we got to pull things away, we got to offer to the new people who are going to support them. And in most cases, we got to sit there by them as a reconfigured form to help them out.
Thank you.
So
We have a motion by Fred so far.
I'll second Fred's motion.
Is that
Fred
Bob?
and Bob have a motion to approve. All those in favor? Opposed?
and I might say that in some ways, it's almost easier if they would stay on, if we could find some way to make that all work, you know.
I mean, so basically all your fixed costs, your overhead that doesn't change, they're sharing in that, but they're not contributing towards it. So they're saving a huge amount from having to duplicate those shared expenses all over again. And it would be a lot of manpower to separate it. So it's in everyone's interest for it to work together. But they don't probably realize how much money they're saving by not doing it on their own.
I know they don't. I mean, we
We
got
just have a reality check at some point.
Yeah, we went into that already. Kind of looking over the figures with one particular city.
Yeah, I'm sure you got crazy pushback, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
it's a difficult situation. I wanted to bring up, since you brought this up, Corey, about this, that I did contact IoT, whether we had any other examples of some counties that operate the way that we do.
Yeah.
Initially, they said no, but then I talked to one guy and he says, yes, there are some counties that operate the way we do. And they formed some sort of a funding vehicle that all these communities pay into. And so that's something that if you guys want to continue to look, I'm just offering it up to get these people from IoT in to help you guys out if you need that. But they said that there are some counties that have some larger cities in which the county government actually operates the city's IT.
So in that case, instead of having them all pay back to the county, you basically would have some entity that operates all IT for all the municipalities, and then we would pay into it. Everybody would pay in.
Yes,
And if it gets short, you
that's
gotta
it.
reassess fees or whatever.
That's even the salaries for IT and everything, and even hiring or anything, it's all put into there. And it answers the security issue, the big one, dealing with the insurance, so cyber insurance policy. That entity would then make everyone be part of that same policy. Right now, everybody's.
Yeah, that's what you're citing there.
Which means if there's a claim, they just argue over it and probably don't pay it, right?
They will not pay it. That's, that, if you don't have the insurance policy in with that entity that's into there, then all you're gonna get is insurance companies say, no, it's gonna go back and forth. So I'm suggesting, to be honest, if you guys are interested in how we move forward, that maybe we take a look at that example and that everybody pays in their portion. And that way, when something needs to be done, I don't have to come begging to 3 or 4 different councils into there, asking for money, and then some of them say, no, we're not going to do that. And now it's a security breach, on these particular locations. If there's something that needs to be done, and we got that funding into there, and if it's part of the budgeting model, I just go and do it. I just take care of it you know, and just say, hey, that's part of your fees that you pay in every year.
I mean, something needs to happen. I don't know what it is, and I was gonna try and catch you after the meeting. I'm gonna try and see if I can come down and meet with you next week sometime, but I just see the budget and I see how much bigger it's getting, and quite frankly, I don't understand it enough. You know,
Yeah.
I could probably sit with you for 5 days and I don't know that I would understand it, but I want to try
Yeah.
because I don't understand it. So it's hard for me to say, that's too much, just when I don't know the lingo, you know, so somehow we got to find a way, because off the top of my head, I want to say the increase proposed in the budget next year is almost as much as our entire savings for Golden Meadows. You know, and that's too much, you know, so we got to figure out something. I don't know the answer.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff was coming in from the state, things that we got to do now. The elections are just horrible. I mean, the stuff that I got to try and take on before November, it's just unbelievable that I'm going to have to put in. And so anyway, it's a new state of things the way it is now. The 2016 election was a breeze. There was nothing to it. I wasn't hired then, but I was in at the end of that. And we had nothing that we really needed to do. And as part of IT, the clerk's office was all taken care of. They didn't use any networking. I left the other day when I was at a place in Fort Wayne, and I just thought, wouldn't it be better if we just went back to paper? I mean, the amount of money that we got to go through just for power alone to make sure that we're not going to have anything dealing with power for this thing is just unbelievable. And they're wanting everyone to do it because they're thinking something's going to happen. They're anticipating it. So that was a major part of it. And so, yeah, we would save money if we just hired a whole bunch of people to count votes and put them on paper. Seriously, we'd save so much money compared to, have to have all these systems and security and everything else that goes along with it. And probably when we're all done, probably not as secure, to be honest. And so. Is it good enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's after the meeting, let's connect and see if we can find time to get together.
Yeah, my door's always open. As some of the guys came in, some of them have come in. We really need the participation from the council so that we can work together to try and find how to do some stuff.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, you want $100,000, right? That's what you wanted. I thought that's what the number was. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that covers all the additionals.
We vote on it.
What?
Yeah, first and a second, did we vote?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that we
It's
did.
been so long, I forgot. They have a motion and a second. Need to vote.
All those in favor? I didn't hear that.
I kind of thought we'd already done it, but whatever. The only other things I have is a reminder, Monday, the 26th, we have the budget workshop. Bree has sent out all the information. We do have some departments that have requested to come before you. You all will need to figure out who else you would want to come before you, and if you're using the over 10% or however you're deciding that, so that we can get them lined up and given a time for that day.
They want to know who's on the schedule right now.
Yeah, go ahead and tell them who's on so far, or email it to them, whatever works for you.
Right now, we have Sheriff Dan, and then Jessica from the Health Department, Mike Brown, Brad Yoder, Highway, and Shelley from Office.
So if there's any other ones that you want to come down, just let us know or let the department know, and we'll get them scheduled and notify them. The other thing that Julie Marie and I have been watching webinars and working on is ARPA. So the final interim rule, which isn't actually ever final because they keep adding to it. But what we saw in the webinar and what we're being told is that resolutions and so forth that were passed approving ARPA by commissioners and council, if it goes past the end of December 24 and into 25, that's not good enough. There has to be something contractual going into 25. For example, I do have some things that I have downloaded in the gateway that there's a contract for that may not be spent quickly enough, so we're good on that. I know Shelley and I have been discussing that because the scanning thing, we're gonna have to figure something out on that. This all has to be done before the end of the year. And some kind of contract needs to be signed showing that that money is obligated going into 2025. Is that your understanding?
That
Julie
is.
Marie?
Yes.
So I just wanted to make you all aware.
There's just a minor semantic difference between allocated and committed. So just because it has been approved and allocated by council and commissioners, apparently there still has to either be payment or some kind of contractual obligation for payment to go out in order for us to satisfy the requirements of the audit.
So, yep, I just wanted to make you all aware of that. As we're going through that, we may have to, things that aren't contracted as it gets closer to December, we may have to figure out something to do
Yeah, we may have
with
to
that.
kind of draft contracts and have people sign those, but we can get that done.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make you aware. That's all I had, Dennis.
Stan?
Just a couple things, I guess, just to kind of tag on to what Mike said. If you want to understand or help understand Mike's budget and those decisions that are being made with our interaction with other entities and stuff. When we have a team meeting on, it used to be on Thursday mornings, now it's on Friday mornings. We kind of moved it. Those are probably some of the most informative meetings to understand what's going on. I probably sat in those meetings for 10 years, and we discussed things behind the scenes to bring to council and the commissioners. So they're just really important, especially now that we're kind of looking at making some changes with the interactions with other towns and cities and stuff. So that, like last Friday, we had a meeting where Mike discussed a lot of this and kind of went into more detail. There was nobody there from council, so I guess I really encourage somebody to show up when we have a change in. So anyway, it's just really a good way, like Corey said, he's really trying to learn. Those are good times and good places to have those discussions and learn what we have and where Mike is taking. So anyway, the other thing that I've got coming up, we're in the process of scheduling another meeting for the Judicial Facilities Review Committee, either at the end of this month or the beginning of September. And then following that, I would like to get the full council and full commissioners together, make a presentation of what we've been doing and hopefully have a recommendation for both bodies at that meeting. So kind of look for something coming up maybe in September to try and I don't know if we would do that as an executive session to discuss real estate. I don't know how that meeting would. I guess kind of watch for that because that's going to be something that you all need to know.
Just, I'll give you a quick update on the Adams County Vision 2036 vision plan that we've been working on. As you, I believe, are aware, we went out for out to market and advertised for consultants to give us proposals to help us, assist us with kind of putting that vision together. We received 4 responses back from that RFP. There's a subcommittee of that steering committee that's actually going to interview those 4 respondents. The companies that submitted proposals. At some point, there'll be a recommendation to the commissioners as to which one of those consultants that group believes would be the best to work with. If you recall, that is an ARPA-funded request, I believe up to $200,000. So hopefully we'll have it go up back to the contractual obligation we need to have by the end of the year. Hopefully we will have a contract in place with a consultant that will obligate those funds before the end of the year. So we hope to meet with those folks before the end of this month and hopefully have a recommendation for the commissioners sometime in September. So that's kind of the timeline that we're shooting for. Still really excited about trying to develop a vision for Adams County for the next 20 to 30 years. And I think that's the next step that we need to go past is actually find a partner that's going to work with us and help us gather community input and plan that vision as we move forward. So just a quick update on that.
Just to update on Golden Meadows, it has officially been closed and all the departments were offered equipment, furniture, or whatever they could use up there. And that has come to an end. So we have scheduled that we're going to do a personal items auction. And that will be, we're going to pass that with that contract. That'll be on September.
September 14th? 14th.
This might be more of a question for Tony, but if we're closed now, if I remember correctly, we budgeted for the whole year to give ourselves any kind of a room. I'm wondering if or maybe Bree, I don't know, if we have other additionals that come up this year, instead of just doing an additional, can we transfer that from, or change it or something?
So it's like money that's just gonna sit there and not be spent.
Is it all coming out of county general anyways?
Good question. Stan?
I think we probably have to keep that budget open if we move into the winter. We'll still have to have some kind of heat up there and stuff like that.
It has to be for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of expense.
Some basic maintenance costs, yeah, but like all those salaries and all that stuff should be done at this point, so.
The only salary that we have left is gonna be the one individual that's gonna stay on, and she's gonna get all of the files from out there digitized before the end of the year.
Any other matters?
There's nothing else. I'll say one thing real quick. I would just like to take a minute to, I know he's not here right now, obviously, but say thanks to Rex Moore for his years of service and every facet that he's done that. Definitely keep Rex in your prayers. Rex is a good man, and I think was always looking to do the best for any role he served. So God bless him, and just keep him in your prayers.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Thank you all.
I'm missing no.